guys, this is Elliot from Elliot Dad Life here. Prior to starting this channel, I used to help my wife film cooking content for her YouTube channel. Nowadays, we don't really shoot that anymore. We are really quite busy with life in general, but I do shoot videos still. I primarily use the DJI Pocket 3 for filming my kids. I did want to see if I could use the DJI Pocket 3 to film cooking content, but I did think it might be helpful to some of you out there who are thinking of the DJI Pocket 3 and want to know how it might fare when you're filming your kitchen or something like that. So why don't we find out today together. Again, this is a new channel. Going to be focused on more on tech and family. Not looking for bread, just doing it kind of for the love of the game because I found that I really did like filming and editing and things like that. It's not my day job. I'm not a photographer or a videographer. I just kind of like fooling around with cameras. And first things first, why would you want to film cooking content with the DJI Pocket 3? Well, there's a number of reasons. I think the biggest reason for me would be how light and portable. Look how small it is. Back then we used the Sony ZV-E10 and the 16mm 1.4 and some other lenses, which is what I'm using here today. When we used the ZV-E10, it wasn't just the camera body. It was of course the lens, the 16 1.4 in many cases for us. We also had a roving camera that had, I think, a Sigma 18 to 50. Then with a heavier camera, you also need more kind of gear. So you needed a tripod, you might need a gimbal. We didn't use a gimbal, but you might want to use a gimbal. And the DJI Pocket 3 has a gimbal built into it. And the DJI is just fast and light and can get set up really quickly. I also think it's a lot easier to film yourself with the DJI Pocket 3. When it comes to filming cooking content, there's going to be a lot of different perspectives on what the right thing should be. And that's something you're gonna have to develop yourself. For the channel that I used to work on, I think there was a couple of like maybe 5 shots that we tended to just use a lot of. We had an A-roll shot, which we used to describe the instructions and what we were doing. There's the close-up side shots to really get in close on the food that you were filming. There was the overhead view. That is, of course, a perspective from above the cooking surface. There's a roving camera, like another camera that was just kind of watching on from different angles depending on what the scene was, and a POV view, point of view perspective shot that we used occasionally. Now again, with the DJI Pocket 3, I think we want to be pretty minimalistic in how we film. We've got the tripod here. This is going to be the mini tripod VPT2, and that came with the Sony camera that I bought many years ago. I do use that with the DJI Pocket 3, but I won't be using that as much today. We do have an ND filter, and I'll talk about why I have that on here later. I have this POV neck mount from K&F, so we'll use that later as well. It would be useful to have some kind of magnetic mount as well. This is a quick release plate from Ulanzi combined with a newer MagSafe ring actually. And so far it's worked pretty well. I don't know if I'd recommend you go down this path. There's probably better things out there. I just had this, and there's actually one pretty significant limitation on why I wouldn't use it for your purposes. And then finally I have this Ulanzi PK06 attachment that sticks right on to your DJI Pocket 3. And what that does have is a lot of different mounting points as well. So I found this pretty useful. And then now let's head off to the kitchen. The most important thing for getting a good quality image is light, and you want to have as much light as possible. I personally liked using natural light as much as possible when we were filming those videos, but we did have 2 sets of pretty strong softbox to really light up the face and the food, and so we couldn't get away with just natural light in our kitchen before. I would just kind of focus on getting the story right rather than getting everything perfect lighting wise, but lighting will make a difference. But try to experiment with natural light. Film near a window if you can during the day, and I think that will really help you out in terms of having good quality video. On these shelves here, I actually do have under shelf lights that I installed, just typical Costco LED lights. Today I'm just going to use those under LED lights there. So the first type of shot we'll talk about is this A-roll talking head type shot, and this will allow you to appear in your own video, makes the video quite personal to you and your brand. It's not always necessary. I know a lot of creators will just focus on the food, and that's fine. Like, just develop your own style, but I wanted to see if the DJI could pull it off. Now the main thing you'll need is probably some sort of a tripod. Certainly I do use the VPT2, but I'm not going to use that today. Instead I'm going to be using this Ulanzi contraption that I put together. The DJI Pocket 3 has a 20mm lens, which means that it gives you a pretty wide field of view when you're filming. When it comes to having like a talking head, you might not necessarily want to get so close to someone because you end up looking kind of distorted. Like this. So this is a 20mm lens, and it's pretty tight to me, but it makes my face look a bit round, a bit distorted, like blows my nose up a little bit. It's okay, but some people don't like that. So that's something, get some distance between you and the camera. So now I do think the Pocket 3 can do this type of shot pretty well. So you have this active track enabled. So this is now going to follow my face. You just double click on the subject, which in this case is me. And now I can walk around the room and it'll follow me. So if I'm cooking something here, I can get a good shot of it here. If I go here and prep and follow me around, and I can get in pretty close and chop some broccoli or something like that, that's gonna be pretty straightforward with all of this. So all the things you can do here. You will notice that your bokeh is going to be quite limited when you compare it to, let's say, the Sony ZV-E10. My face is here, but the background is quite pleasantly blurry, as you can see. But honestly, the tracking is a huge benefit, I think, when it comes to filming content like this, where you want to be talking to the camera and doing other things at the same time. This is actually really super helpful. I never had that when we were actually filming on Andrea's videos back then. Now, if you are filming like this, you're actually going to want some form of an external mic. I'm using an external mic here, but we'll talk about it more in the audio section later. So this close-up shot is the second shot, and in my view, it's actually the money shot in cooking videos. There's nothing that ingrains your audience more into the video than just getting something really close and tight, and you see the scrumptiousness of the ingredients you're using, fire of the wok. It's pretty easy to do it on this camera. You might want to use a different gimbal mode, but you actually can get pretty close shots. So I suggest use the DJI flat on the prep surface for this type of shot in tilt lock gimbal mode, which means that I'll just look straight ahead, and then lossless zoom to get really tight into the ingredients. And to enable lossless zoom, you see that pair of angle brackets you have at the bottom of the screen? You just push that and that'll put you into 2x crop. There's also a joystick on this device that will let you make subtle adjustments and get a really good angle into what you're doing. And my view is close-up will really help your audience connect with the food that you're preparing. Okay, so the next shot is the overhead shot. I had a devil of a time doing overhead shots in the Sony ZV-10 and the pairing. My gear was actually too heavy. I didn't want to buy more gear. It wasn't really the way our channel had been set up. I know that Randy Lau from Made with Lau built one, or someone helped them build one out of a couple 2x4s. And that was pretty stable, but if your setup is not stable enough, what's going to end up happening is you end up having your chopping of the food actually shake the camera a little bit. Footage will look all wobbly, and that's not a good thing, particularly if you're kind of speeding up video from an overhead perspective in some kind of a hyperlapse shot. Funny thing is, with the DJI Pocket 3, I actually think it's really good for overhead shots. I didn't even need a setup. So with this setup here, I actually can do this without anything more. I just connect to the range hood like that. Super easy setup. And then if I power on the camera, and now it's looking head on into my cooking surface here. So super easy. I actually think you can do a really easy and nice shots. A lot of range hoods will be metal, and so this magnetic mount just does it so perfectly well. I would use FPV-T mode for the overhead camera, and then just use this joystick to point the camera down. And with the DJI Pocket 3, super simple, super easy. So the next shot is like a roving type shot. That type of shot brings variety. I kind of think of it as making the audience feel like a friend that's in the kitchen with you. So if you're cooking and someone else is able to help you film, they can stand behind you and just kind of film what you're doing. With the DJI Pocket 3, I actually think it's super simple to get a good roving shot because of the gimbal. You don't have to worry about technique as much as you did with other cameras. It's going to make it look pretty natural. The DJI Pocket 3 is lightweight, it's quick to reposition, and it's got a wide angle field of view with some ability to digital zoom. So I think you've got a lot to work with the DJI Pocket 3 in terms of roving camera. I would recommend using the FPV mode. And so basically you can use that gimbal kind of like a smartphone. Like you just point it whichever direction the food is in, and your screen will align with the direction of the camera. And I think it's pretty easy to film with a smartphone. Your kids or whoever else you're filming, you're asking you to help out with, will be able to do it pretty easily. Feels like a floaty-ish iPhone. And the last shot is the POV mode. The POV shot makes the audience go into your shoes. And one content creator that I think does it really well is Kenji Lopez Alt, I think that's how you say his name, Kenji Lopez. He starts off with doing a shot of himself, then he puts on his contraption or he uses KNF concept neck mount. For the gimbal, turn on follow mode. And what I find is that this really humanizes the cooking experience. See how you do it exactly from your perspective. I think it's really good for showing process. Personally, we didn't use it very much. I think you need the right personality to have a POV mode camera, because if you're not doing a lot of cuts, you're just doing primarily POV, you're just kind of seeing a lot of the same thing over and over again. So unless you do a lot of quick cuts between steps, people might get a little bit bored of your presentation. But I think it can be used very effectively, particularly if you know what you're talking about. Unlike me, I'm not a chef or a cook, so I don't have often a lot of backstory behind a specific ingredient, so I don't know how to fill in the blanks. But someone like Kenji does know how to fill in the blanks, and someone like my wife actually knows how to fill in the blank. I can ask her a question and she'll give me like 5 facts about some random thing that I don't know. So the conclusion I have is that yes, this camera can do it all. It can do all 5 of those shots. It can do it pretty well. I've got a couple other pointers that maybe we can talk about. Number 1, you've probably heard about cinematic video. To make cooking footage more cinematic and natural, there's something that some videographers will use that is called a 180-degree shutter rule. And so what that just means is whatever frame rate you have your camera set on, double it for your shutter speed. So if you're on 30 frames per second, your shutter speed should be at 1/60. What that does is it makes motion blur that seems natural to our eyes. It won't seem too jittery, which is what a lot of iPhone footage could be, especially in bright lights, and it won't look too, smooth or soft or laggy, and that's what happens if your shutter speed is too low. Depending on your lighting, you might need an ND filter to cut down the light, and so that's what I have this ND filter on my camera for. So this thing here, that's an ND filter, and it goes 1 to 5 stops, and it actually clicks on just like this. So now it's on, and it acts like sunglasses for your camera. I don't think it's a requirement that you need to have cinematic motion blur. I wouldn't be a slave to these rules, especially if you're starting out. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can develop your own style. If you're starting out especially, find what you think works best for you and try different things. In terms of camera settings, there's a lot of flexibility in DJI's settings. You can use auto, and that'll still give you pretty good footage. Or you can use manual mode. You can pick different color profiles. So you have D-Log M if you want to color grade your photos. We did color grade the videos, but very simply. We just used the basic Sony log profile, allow us to have different cameras meshed together. But if you're just using one camera and you're just starting out, you don't really worry too much about moods just yet as you develop your style and as you're learning. So you can just shoot in non-log mode at the beginning. Of course, there's the options like 1080p, 4K, WeFilm. There's 30 and 60, but certainly the DJI Pocket 3 can film at 4K 60 pretty easily. And if there's slow motion modes, there's time-lapse modes, there are a lot of different modes you can use to get exactly the type of shot you want to do. Outside of doing portraiture, the DJI Pocket 3 can do a lot of great videos, and I think it's more limited by your creativity than by anything particularly related to the camera itself. If you're in vertical mode, it's limited to 3K, but if you're in horizontal, it can do 4K video. The camera won't be the bottleneck in terms of those types of settings. You're going to be able to do it. Focus on the storytelling, which I think is what is the most important thing for finding and keeping an audience. Audio, super important and probably more unforgiving than bad video. So I use the DJI Mic Mini. There's 2 transmitters. One is on the voice and the other could be used to capture things like sizzling sounds. Audio can really bring your cooking video to life. And if you're doing a talking head, you want the mic to be close to you and not on your camera if you're far away from the camera. Otherwise, it just sounds very echoey. The DJI Pocket 3 actually can shoot up to 3 channels. With the DJI Mic Mini, I've got 2 transmitters, and you can also enable it to still record the audio directly on the camera. It will make it more professional if you're doing a talking head type shot to have a mic on you, and you can also have a mic somewhere else and one on the camera, so it's super flexible that way. Just keep the camera away from the oil splatter. So then the other thing is the DJI app, which is super helpful for actually filming cooking video. I never had this before. It's useful during filming and it's also useful after filming. So during filming, The app is quite intuitive. It allows you to connect and control the camera, use it as a viewfinder. You can make sure your food is in focus while you're filming. You can control focus, exposure, tracking settings, camera buttons, keep the camera from shaking when you control it. So then when it comes to after filming and trying to edit, you can of course pull the SD slot or even plug the camera directly into your computer and copy it into your software just like it was a SD card. Or if you're editing on your phone, you can transfer all the video to phone through the DJI Mimo app, and that will send it to you pretty quickly. I do that on vacations actually. What limitations do I see when it comes to using the DJI Pocket 3 as a cooking content creator camera? So the sensor is great, but it does have limitations. It's a 1-inch sensor, so it actually is quite a bit bigger than your phone. So if you're filming content on your phone, you're still going to see a step up from your phone. But if you're comparing it to other cameras, like pretty much almost any mirrorless camera that has interchangeable lenses, it will be a bit of a step down. You'll notice it when it comes to lighting. You might get the problem of having mushier video, but I think the way to solve that is to find better ways to improve your lighting situation, and that's a whole different discussion altogether. You only have one lens, so it's not like you can have different focal lengths, so you're gonna have to use digital zoom, which is really just kind of cropping in the video to a certain size. So the other thing is it's not weather sealed, so you want to be a little bit careful, especially when you're cooking. Don't drop it into hot boiling water. Don't get it too close to your sizzling pan, because if oil jumps onto it, it might mess with the camera a little bit. Obviously I have the filter on, so the filter actually protects it a little bit, but you don't want to get it too close to your cooking. So you can actually use the lossless zoom to get in tighter so your camera can be a little bit farther back, and that will actually improve the way the video looks in some circumstances. So the conclusion, yep, you can get really good footage out of your DJI Pocket 3 when it comes to cooking food content. I think I might turn this into a series actually. I do have an interest in photography and nowadays also videography, just because I like taking pictures of the kids and keeping those types of memories. So as I get new cameras, I'm probably going to try and test them out and see how they work for filming cooking content. So if you're looking to kind of upgrade from a smartphone, for instance. So anyway, that's it for this video. If you're interested, subscribe for more videos like this. I will have more videos like this, but otherwise, peace out.